Hi friends! Welcome to the Overcomers, a movement and a group of people who have overcome and they've got a story. That's what the Overcomers is all about. You sharing your story. Why? Because there is power in your story and people need you. They need your voice. They need your story of hope, faith, and inspiration that where they're at right now is not the end. They need to know if you can overcome, so can they. Today, I'm excited to share with you another story of one such overcomer. So let's go check out who it is. I'm honored to be here today with my friend, April Brown. April, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Such an honor to have you here with us today. And just in case you are tuning in and you don't know April, like I have had the pleasure of getting to know her, I just want to share a few things about my friend before we begin. April is an amazing mom of 4 and a wife joining us from Comfort, Texas. She's overcome a lot in life: divorce as a child, rejection from a father, and health issues at a young age that led to depression. Now she's serving and leading alongside her husband the best personal development company on the planet, Destiny Global. She's at the pinnacle of her career, serving people around the globe. She has true joy now that inside that spills out every day, and has the best relationship with her kids and her husband. But what I'm blown away most by with you, April, is your humility. Not many people actually know your story, or for that matter, how powerful it is, how powerful he is inside of you because of what he's done in your journey. And that is because you have such a huge heart for others. You don't shout, "Hey, everybody, look at me." No, instead, you exude peace and you make people feel safe. And because of that stillness that surrounds you, it invites the Father into that moment with you and with them. And it is memorable. You are an advocate for others, an advocate for the voiceless, an advocate for freedom, and you're an advocate for him. You are passionate, powerful. You can be a total goofball, and I just love you, friend. So without further ado, take us on that journey. Share with everybody who hasn't had the pleasure of getting to know you how you went from where you used to be to where you are now.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And it definitely has been a pleasure to get to know you these last couple of years from the first time we met in Israel. And the shirt I'm actually wearing as it, because it was one of the shirts I wore when we first met. And what a powerful just relationship that God has brought us together, and that you do this to help people to share their stories, so that as we were just talking about, that every person's story can impact other people differently, that someone else's story can't reach somebody, but I thank you that you just give that space to share stories. So thank you for this opportunity. And yeah, my story starts when I was 3 years old, that my father left, and so I was raised by a single mom, and I didn't have much of a relationship with my earthly father. And so that kind of left a huge hole in my life and a void that I continually search for, just to have a relationship with especially a male, that a male father figure. So that has been something that has been kind of really a theme throughout my life. And but yeah, when just growing up, I recall one time when I was really kind of acting out the first time with my mom, and she kind of pressed in to figure out like what was going on with me. And I remember I had a dream one day, and this is like a day I was really acting out. It's just like, what is going on? Because I was pretty much one of those children that like wanted to please and wanted to do the right thing, and had been that my whole life, and cried if my teacher like called me out for anything,
Mhm.
like devastated. And so like, but I don't really remember what I was doing, but I remember I had this dream, and my mom came and she started talking to me about like really what was going on. And I told her about this dream, and basically this dream was that my mom left too, and that she stopped loving me. And so
Mm.
she pressed into that to try to figure out like where that was coming from. And I said, well, if my dad, who like it's your dad, right? Your parents are supposed to love you like forever, that if he could stop loving me, that she could stop loving me as well, and that she could leave. And so she began to explain to me obviously the difference in love, and that love between a husband and a wife is very different, and that basically he was leaving her, and that meant that that relationship just took a different um it, there was just a difference, and because he had not loved her anymore. Anyway, she tried, did the best that she could to explain that, and I did begin to kind of see, okay, and she made a greater effort to really make sure that I knew that that was not going to happen, and that she would never like leave me. But I think also as I began to get older, she began to realize that sometimes we teach, especially single moms, will talk about as if they're the mother and the father. And she began to realize um, that that was probably not helpful. And she began to teach me that she couldn't be my father, and kind of just let me fill that void. And what happened was to begin to realize that only God could fill it, because she kept pointing me back to Him.
Mm.
That, well, I can't, like, I wasn't created to be your provider necessarily. I do the best I can, but you have to ask your father.
Mm.
And she'd always say that. No, it was to ask my heavenly Father. Like, you'll have to pray about it, and He's faithful. So that's where I began to know who to look for as my father. But as time went on, um, like there was still that desire to have that relationship with my earthly father. So there were things I would do to like reach out to him, and I remember pretty much every time I talked to him, it was like I would talk to him and then maybe not hear from him for a year or two, or who knows how long. And but I just in my teen years began to really reach out to him to try to have that relationship. And basically each time, you can imagine, would just be pretty much devastated. And I remember like one in particular that um that he began to, every time I talked to him, he would say that he was going to, when this happened, he was when he, and there was usually something to do with the lottery or this job he was going to get, that he would do this or that, some kind of provision. He would provide for, and I would have a car. He would provide for me to go to college. He would provide all of this stuff. And so I remember this one time, like when he was like saying that, and I began to see, because there was never any action behind it, but he actually set up a a bank account, where he would put money in. He said, I'm gonna put money in this, and so he started putting money in it, and it was like a mutual account where I could put stuff in as well. And I was young, naive. I had no idea of what I thought. Once the account was made, nobody could really take from it, especially him. It's my account. So anyway, I started putting money in it, and as I had a couple of jobs actually when I was a teen, which I'll talk about in a minute. But so I started putting money in, and I went to go take some money out one day, and it had been closed. And like all the money that he had put in it, which was a little over $1,000, a lot for a teen. Let's just say that. And like I was like literally, I was so angry. I was like, who does that? Who does that just in general? Much less a father. Like, who does
Mm.
that? And I just remember like I was so angry, and that's where bitterness, like a deep, deep bitterness that I know now, and resentment, like a little seed that got planted in me that just began to grow and grow and grow as he like never kept those commitments or promises for the future as well. So like I remember actually I'm gonna put a pin in that, because when this time when I was a senior, or even when I was a youth at 16, I actually found out that I had health issues. And I would just get tired all the time, and I would like my weight would fluctuate like all the time. And found out that I had hypothyroidism, and so like I had to take medication, and it was just always having to be regulated, and I could never really figure out like it was so many crazy hormones, like so much going on. And so when I was like about a year later, I went back to the doctor just to regulate it, and they found a nodule, and it was it was pretty large, but at the time they weren't too concerned about it because it was like it was just soft and you could move it around. And so they were just gonna like watch it and see what happened. And my senior year, like it just got worse and worse. Even though I was taking medication, even though I was doing all this stuff, it just got worse and worse. I was tired all the time. And during this time, I had two jobs. I was literally my senior year. I worked for my grandmother, and then I was actually I'd been a staffer for helping. It was basically a mission organization where I was asked to come and be like where I would help young girls. And it was a camp that we would go to, and we basically ran the whole camp. And we were almost like rock stars with these little girls. Like they were like, ah, and they were screaming. Anyway, because we did everything for them. Like we did all of skits and Bible studies and all of this stuff with them. And I remember at this camp, like I would share my story during the Bible study about how my parents were divorced, and how I just a lot of my struggles with that, not having a dad, and how much that God was with my father. And these girls really responded to me because nobody else really had that story. Like
Mm.
everybody else, they had intact families and all of this stuff. And so I remember at night after they would teach, then the girls would be asked if you want to come make a decision, or you want to ask a question, you want to be someone to pray with you, that they could come forward, and we would stand in the front and they would come to us. And there was like this, like I would look around and there'd be like two over here and two over at another. But there were like be 5 or 6 or 7 deep, like waiting to talk to me. I didn't understand it at the time. I was like, why were they become like these girls been talking to them just as much, right? But I realized that it was because I was vulnerable with my story. A lot of them could relate. Most of them had very similar stories, and um, and I just listened to them, like literally just listened to them, and so I began to like think about that like a lot, and like what is this, and I feel like God was just like really revealing to me that this was what he had called me to. Like he really called me to help people, and that I had this gift, and it was from him. Like it wasn't like me, it was just literally what he put inside of me and who he created me as. And so it was hard for me to understand, but I just knew like God. And so I began to like research like who what kind of career does this thing where you basically just listen to people. And then I realized it was a counselor. Like I don't want to become a counselor. So at 16 years old, I didn't want to become a counselor. So I began to tell everybody like, and I began to research like what does that take, and so planning for it and planning for the future and where I was going to go to school and all of this stuff. And so when I was right before my senior year, there was a counseling center that was asking my youth pastor, like, hey, do you know anybody that just really has leadership skills and that has a heart to really counsel people? And he's like, yeah, April talks about it all the time. As a counselor. And so basically, like they asked me to come and be, I was a peer counselor where I basically worked with people my close to my age, usually a little bit younger. But basically, I just, did basically I helped them, which is so weird today that I'm a coach. But back then, it was just basically helping them. It wasn't called a vision board, but it was basically just looking through pictures, looking through what are your gifts, what are your talents, what are your goals, like what do you want to do with your future, and then helping them set goals toward that. Like that's literally what I did. And so like, and I would see these kids like go from like they had no hope to like having hope for their future. And so it was just super cool. And I was just excited for what I could do to help people. Like it was really cool and exciting. So I had these two jobs. I worked with kids during the day. My grandmother had a daycare, and I did this peer counseling, which I would call it coaching. Now that we know more about coaching at the time, and that's an idea. But I was tired all the time. Like I was just so tired, and so then like as that year went on, and I went back to the doctor that this nodule had become hard and it had grown, and they were concerned that it could be cancerous. And so they like, you're gonna have to get this removed. So literally I graduated from high school and went and had surgery, like neck surgery, like complete, like opened up my neck, and there was a nodule there the size of a plum, and basically like 100 cysts, and they took out half of my thyroid. So basically, for the rest of my life, they're saying you're gonna have to be on this medication and all this stuff. And so from there, like literally, my hormones just went crazy. And but at that time, like I was, I didn't have um, the adult really responsibilities like yet. I feel like I was able to navigate those things because I was just a teen, and I was really like had my life, and had my friends, and we went out, all kinds of stuff like that. And so I don't think at that time I really had any depression issues or anything like that. But I do want to kind of back up a little bit, because when I was in seventh grade, like a lot of things started, I started feeling like extremely lonely. Um, a lot of my friends who were Christians and I went to church with, they had started Christian school. And so all of them went to this Christian school.
Mm.
And so I really like literally had no friends. And I was very single mom. I could not afford to go to the Christian school. So well, that was in our minds, right? We have this mindset that that's not, I'm raised with a single mom. She can't afford to send me to a Christian school. So so yeah, I really didn't have any friends. So I was befriended by this girl, and I like literally in seventh grade, I began to like be a partier. Which I had never rebelled before. I had that one like acting out, but like now it's like full on rebellion. Like I was partying every single weekend, not telling my mom half the time where it was. Put myself in so many situations that were so ridiculous. And so basically, from the middle of like my grade year to like ninth grade, I was just partying all the time, basically getting drunk every single weekend. Anyway, I look back on that and it doesn't even feel like me. Like, it just, but I was just, I guess not an excuse, but I just got lonely, right? And then someone befriends you, and then it's next thing you know, this is what you're doing. It was never my intention. And so, and then how do you get out of that, right? Because I was literally living a double like life. Have all of these like friends on partying on the weekend, then I went to church, on Sunday. And and I know my mom was praying for me that whole entire time. And so this one weekend, or this one I had a friend who moved to our who moved from Arkansas and moved to where we were, and she was literally the only friend now. I mean, she went to our church and she was literally the only friend that there were other friends, but I never had lunch with them. And so she was like the one that I ate lunch with. And now for about 2 months we created this friendship. And she kept inviting me to this retreat. It was our ninth grade year, like, it was a retreat between the first semester and the second semester, like winter break. And she invited me to go on this retreat, and I know my mom was praying for me, and we ended up, I was like, I felt like I couldn't say no. I was like, I don't really want to go, because you're living that double you don't want to do it all weekend. And plus, like, I had a party that week. And so I was like, okay, like I literally just felt like I couldn't tell her no. So the law of seven, right? Never again. And my mom was there too, like on the other side, and here's my friend. And so I was like, fine, I'll go. And so I went to this retreat, and like I just remember like, what are you doing? Like, this is not who you are. And I thought I couldn't like get away, but God had literally changed everything for me. A guy that I was dating, he started being interested in another girl. And so that broke off. And then my best friend, who had kind of, brought me into this circle of friends, she moved to California, like literally that same month I met my friend, Tracy. And so it was like, this is not who you are. Like, it's not your heart. It's not what you want to do. Like, you're just doing it to like fit in. Like, what are you doing? And that day I rededicated my life, and I was just like, I would rather sit alone in a lunchroom by myself and know that you're with me,
Oh.
than to have all these friends that like they don't even know me. They really actually don't even know me. And so I just completely said, I don't care. I don't care like what people think, or what they say. I want to just, I know I want to walk with you, and I don't want this double life anymore. And so I completely rededicated my life that day, and literally everything changed from that weekend. And it just became this journey of really, really, really knowing him, knowing my father. And but like I said, that root kind of, I had this health issues. I had then that root of bitterness toward my father, like my senior year, and so much going on that like really my time with him was, I just didn't spend any time with him. And so it just became more angry, more bitter. And so after my surgery, like I just had a lot of downtime, right? And then I was getting ready because I had 2 trips that summer. And so I was just trying to get myself healthy so that I could go on this mission trip to Washington. At first, I didn't think I was going to be able to go, but I got strong enough and went on this mission trip. And it was to Seattle. It was outside of Seattle, Washington, and it was with our like youth choir. And so we went, and that weekend, oh man, or that week, God just changed everything. Like he just showed me so much. And one particular thing was forgiveness and how important forgiveness is. Because I sat there one day, and I don't remember exactly the story, but our pastor came and he was doing like a revival thing with the youth every night. And so this night he was talking, he just told a story about like it was a daughter that that the father was asking her to do something, and he had done all of these things like really harm, things that hurt her. And I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but basically it was that he would forgive this father, and or her, she would forgive this father. And and I remember just like feeling like this feeling inside of me, like it was ugly. It was so ugly. Like it was like I could see, it was like a mirror that I could see myself, how ugly it was, how much anger that I had towards him. And how ugly it was, that it was like it's so ugly. And so I said, and so I felt so angry, and I felt angry at that moment towards God, feeling like he was asking me to forgive him. And I was like, how could you ask me to forgive him? And he was like, I'm asking you that because that's what I've done for you. And it's like I saw my, like I wanted to look at him and his sin, but God showed me my sin. God showed me like, this is what I've done for you. This is what I've forgiven you for. And especially all of the stuff that I had done, like I just shared with you, like he brought me out of that and he forgave me. And so it was, he literally that moment also showed me that that he's a father to the fatherless. And he's like you do not have to rely on him. I am your father. I will care for you. I will take care of everything that he's ever promised you. I will take care of you. And so it was like, it was hard for me to believe that and understand that, because I was looking to an earthly father and it just didn't feel like. And so that night I went home and I realized that my heavenly father is nothing like my earthly father. Nothing. And I had to look at my heavenly father through the lens of truth of who he is, not through my earthly father, because I should look at my earthly father through him. And so I literally, like, we had these bunk beds and I was trying to be like, not freak everybody out, but I really wanted to just like throw up my hands and like scream out to him and just say, okay, I give up. You're my father. I give up that desire. or an earthly father to like provide these things for me, and I trust you. And so literally from that moment forward, he goes, okay, I'll show you everything miraculously that my father ever said he would provide for me. My heavenly father did. A car. Like he provided a car for like $250. Literally all that I had in my bank account. He's like, I will never take from your bank account. I will only give to you. He provided for my college. He provided everything like miraculously. And then but the biggest thing was just forgiveness and just the freedom that came with that. Now it's a continual process. It's been a continual process. It's not a one and done. And even to this day, things I have to learn about for forgiveness of that. So from there, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go and help people. Like I was just excited to go to college. I went to actually also in Seattle, Washington on that trip. I had been planning to go to another college with my friends, the friend that had moved there. She was gonna be my roommate. And I had like everything planned out. But my mom was like, she kept telling me, like, hey, why don't you consider, there were a couple of colleges I kept telling me to consider. And I was like, Mom, no, like, I've got it. Okay, I've got it all down. So on that trip, we had like guest families that we would, or host families that would take us around and they would drive us around. And so this lady, I was like so sure that my mom like handpicked her. Like, could you find a person who will drive her around that's gone to this school and like will talk about it obsessively for the whole entire time? Like, that's exactly what it felt like. It was like, and so she was like, first time even in the car, she's like, oh my gosh, y'all are from Texas. Like, have you ever heard of the school, Dallas Baptist University? Like, that's where I went. And it's an amazing school. Like the whole entire time she would not stop talking about the school. And I'm like, it's like la 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 la. Anyway, so I get home, I'm like, la la la, don't listen to her. I get home, and a couple weeks later, I wake up in the middle of the night, and it was like, go look in your closet, and it was like, look in the closet, blah blah blah, in the back here, there's a bag, and so I like go look in the closet, and there's this bag, and I had gone to like there was an event where they had like all of these colleges that would come and like talk to us, and they had these booths. And so I met this one lady. She did really stick out in my mind. She was in a wheelchair, and she just talked to me like she knew me forever, and she was super nice. So I had this bag and had a lot of the college stuff in it from that college visit, and I pull it out and it's all this information from the school DBU, and it even had the application. It was like fill it out. And so it was like, okay, I'll do it, whatever. Like this was only a few weeks before, like, you know, all of this stuff was supposed to be in and accepted or not accepted. Like, I'm like, I'll send it, but it's never gonna get there in time. It's gonna be fine. Like, because actually I had to back up because my mom had asked me, like, just pray about it. And being the kind of person that I am, I don't say I'm gonna pray about it and not do it. So I'm like, agreed, because I'm just like, just stop hassling me. Okay, I'll pray about it. That's where this lady came from. And then this, like, because I am praying about it, but I'm not liking it. And so, so then I fill it out. I'm like, okay, I'll send it, but it's never gonna happen. Literally, like, I don't even know how I got there that fast, but somehow I got it to their hands very fast. The lady gets it that was in the wheelchair. She like calls me. She totally remembers me. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm gonna like fast through everything. You're gonna get all this stuff, and here's what you need to do. I was like, what? And so like literally everything goes through. I've never even been to the school before. And then I like go there and I meet my husband the first week. And we've been married 32 years now. We just celebrated. So it's I don't know, that's just how God, when you allow him to be your father,
Mm,
like and just love you as a father is supposed to, because he has a plan. He had a plan when he created families, and that was for them to follow his plan. But not always do parents follow his plan of how to be a mom, how to be a father. But that does not make him not good
mm, mm.
and not a good father. And when we realize that we live in an imperfect world, and we allow and we give not for the other person, but we forgive those who are imperfect, because nobody except him is perfect, and we just allow him to truly be our father. Like it's crazy what he does. And just how like yeah, even with that, I went on to when I started having like married for 8 years, started having kids, and start that's when my like hormones again became crazy. And so I started dealing with depression, and what had become as me being him being my father, like now is in a parental role, which is a whole different thing of being an imperfect parent. I had an imperfect parent, but we're two imperfect parents. And now I am in this role of being imperfect parent, and not feeling like I can live up to it because just hormonal issues from being pregnant and all of these things. And so it went from me forgiving my father to now me forgiving myself
Mm.
for not being perfect, and learning that forgiveness and giving grace to ourselves. And I for years had terrible relationship um, with all of my children, but mostly one in particular. And he's actually given his overcomer story with being a twin, born premature, and all of the eating issues that came with that, and not feeling like I felt so insufficient to be able to care for even my son, and all of the things that came with that. So really discovering that it is so about giving myself grace,
Mm.
so and forgiveness, so I can then turn around and give my children forgiveness as well, because we're imperfect people.
Mm. So good, friend. So good. You know, what's so amazing to me is that, well, there's so many things I want to say, but first I just have to say your story is such a beautiful picture of redemption. So much redemption. And I just love that picture of that you painted so well that you made me cry. I think this is the first interview that I literally had tears coming down my eyes. Um, but I loved that picture of that moment where you said the one thing you wanted more than anything was a father and that relationship with a father. And when you surrendered that desire, what did you get in return? You got it with him. And you got it to a level that has been far more than you could have ever imagined it would be. So how beautiful is that like full circle view of a father that not only sees us but loves us that much that he wants to enter into a relationship like with us like that. if we simply just lay down whatever it is that we're holding on to. You painted such a beautiful picture of that. And there's no doubt in my mind or anyone else's mind that has probably been listening to this, that you really loved your mom. You really loved your mom, and you had an amazing mom. What a gift she was of a human being, to not only be able to guide you through those years and love you the way that she did, but to also create and help create the mom that you are today. You're an amazing woman, friend. And I'm just so grateful that you're willing to share your story with us and be so real and be so raw and be so vulnerable with it. I know that beyond all of the hearts that you have already impacted so greatly in your journey up to now, has been a lot. But you didn't even stop there. I know there's some organizations that you really care about and you're a huge advocate of because of just your heart to serve others. So I just wanted to give you a moment as well to talk about some of those organizations that you're involved with.
So the first organization that, yeah, all of those things took me to a point of realizing that he was my father. But like I said before, I went through all of that educational stuff for counseling. And what I realized was that I wasn't impacting people the way I wanted to.
Mm.
What I was taught in school, and I'm not saying one way or the other, I'm saying for me and my experience, was that I was taught to take people back to all of their traumas, to remember all of those traumas. And yeah, there was skill in that was learning how to work through them. But I never was seeing people get the breakthrough that I so desired
Mm.
for them to see. And I searched for that for 21 years. I went to all of these trainings that were great trainings, but I was always searching for something that would just be that thing that would help people break through their trauma. And 4 years ago, I found this organization, went to my first training. I had to be told about it. I was very stubborn. I had to be told about it like 5 times. I had different people telling me about it. And I finally was like, maybe I should try this. And tried my first event in 2018, February of 2018, just a month after you went to one of these same events. And it completely changed my life.
Mhm.
And I got the breakthrough that I wanted for my life, to have the relationship with my husband, with my children. But my relation, how I talked about, like, I couldn't afford that. I had a single mom, had all of that stuff. Like, I had all of these like really poverty mentality things that I had no idea. I had literally no idea. And all of that is gone. Like,
Mm.
I don't feel like I have any limits on my life of what I can do and the relationships I can have, and the friendships and relationships. I've healed relationships in my family. I have, but most of all with my children, and most of all with my husband. And so that is actually, we came here February 2018, continue to plug into these events, continue to like press play, to really, because repetition is it. Like, all these things are in our head. We've been programmed for so many years, and we don't even realize it. And so began to press play, do all of these things, went on the trip to Israel with the same organization with you. And these things completely changed my life, so much so that we're like, how can we be a part of this organization in several ways? And the first one is that my husband actually started helping them with some things on their website, on another thing that I'm going to talk to you about, of how we help people. But and so then he started working for this organization as he helped them with this side of it on their charity side, began to work on this other side, and it's Destiny Global. And we actually do regular trainings and now are part of it. And now we have a coaching program that you're a part of, and seeing lives like still become overcomers,
Mhm.
learn how to overcome those mindsets that that hold us back, and don't hold us back any longer. I have completely healed my relationship with my son. We have all my children. We have such great relationships. That is immeasurable. That is, and my husband and I, 32 years now, and we have a good marriage. But we have a great marriage where we can literally talk about anything now, things that we thought were great, and all of the things, but now we can literally just talk about anything, and just have an amazing relationship. And so that is with Destiny Global. And we have First Steps to Success. Just go to destinyglobal.com or firststepstosuccess.com if you really just want to see about the event that's put on, which was my first event that completely changed everything for me. But we also have a charity, which actually was what I was initially drawn to. Had seen some of the trainings online, never went in person, but I saw um, this organization that's called King's Ransom Foundation, and began to see what they were doing, but also knowing that 100% went to feed the orphan, the poor, the needy, and the widow. And that just touched my heart. Like, I know that there are organizations where not 100% goes to really where you want it to go to, and the needy, that you have a heart and you hear all these stories, but not all of it goes there. And so began to really see that this was true. This was everything. And so now I'm the treasurer um, of King's Ransom Foundation, and yeah, it's an amazing organization. And we're just now, which is so my heart. And I love that you shared that about how much I love my mom and so grateful for her. And she was an amazing mom in general. But I'm telling you, as a single mom, if um, if I could bottle up to teach single moms how to be a mom, um, yeah, it would be super, super impactful. So we actually are starting something where we can help single moms to have that kind of training, how to get out of debt and stay out of debt, and how to not have that poverty mentality. And so we are actually starting an organ or in that organization, starting, and again, he's a father to the fatherless,
Mm.
because ultimately when we impact single moms, we're impacting their children and that don't have a father, often don't have a father figure, or if they do have a father figure, it's not one that is a positive father figure in their life. So really mentorship and all of the things that these single moms need, and the children of the single moms. So that is actually, I think, a link that we can put in there for you to go to that so that you can find out more about that.
So good, friend. You know, what's so amazing about everything you just shared is that I have no doubt that there's going to be so many people listening to this interview in the future who are fatherless. Maybe they don't
Mhm.
have a father. And you just painted such a beautiful picture of a father that does want to be there. And not only that, but you just showed resources for that person who is hungry for their life to be different than what it is right now. So I encourage you, if that is you, please come join us at Destiny Global's Steps to Success conference. Like she said, that link is www.destinyglobal.com. Or if you want to partner with us and be an advocate for the sex trafficked, for the orphan, for the widow, and for the fatherless, you can go to kingsransomfoundation.org. April, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your story. I am so incredibly proud of you, so moved by your courage and your vulnerability. And I'm just blown away by your heart. You have definitely carried on the legacy of your mom in your heart for other people and your heart for him.
Thank you so much. I appreciate just being able to share with you today. And I appreciate your heart as well to help people and to put them in contact with those who are struggling and don't understand how to overcome in these ways, and putting them with people who have overcome. And they're just a story away as well from being overcomers. So thank you.
So good.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? Do you have an overcomer story? Do you know someone who needs to hear this message? Please share this video on your social platforms and tag us so we know who you are. Stay tuned as we share more overcomer stories in the weeks ahead. We're looking for you. We're looking for the overcomers. Join us. Let's come together as the overcomers. Start sharing your story. We have multiple ways you can start getting involved and repping the movement, repping your story of what he has done in your life. And last but not least, if you want to learn how to overcome, visit www.dannyjohnson.com. That's my coach, and that's where I learned how to overcome. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We believe in you, and we believe in the power of story. We believe